Hey everyone, and welcome to Gilded Reviews. Today's video was supposed to be a fun or refund for Wildermyth, but truth be told, I absolutely fell in love with it and couldn't stop playing after just 2 hours. So instead, we are going to do an early access review of Wildermyth, so I can break down more of what this game has to offer. Wildermyth is a tactical-based RPG with an emphasis on character development and story generation. This game has a decent amount of replay value, and the RNG-based story system has been a blast to explore. Anyhow, let's go ahead and get started with the art, animation, and sound. Honestly, I love what the developers have done here. The art is very charming and adds a lot more to the game than I originally thought it would. It's simple, but emphasizes the right stuff. For instance, as you acquire gear, get older, and go through events, the characters change. It's hard to explain, but the cutout paper figures showing as much emotion as they do, along with simply evolving with the character, makes this game extremely enjoyable from an aesthetic perspective. The animations are okay. There's just not a lot you can do with cutout figures. The audio isn't half bad either, offering good effects and a decent soundtrack to back everything up. Wildermyth is scenario-based, so the story aspect can change dramatically. The developers also introduced a fantastic RNG system to help keep things fresh. There are events that are randomly generated throughout an overarching story, at least for the starting campaign. Other than that, the story just focuses on the heroes and what they go through individually through those events. There are a surprising amount of these events too, and the game didn't get as dull as I thought it would. The reason for this is simple. The events directly affect the characters, which is where the story is focused. What I mean by this is, if an event pops up where you go off on a side mission with just 2 heroes, you will have a few choices to make along the way, and based on what you do, your character will be affected by something that happens. This could range from having a debuff for the next round of combat to permanently becoming a fire god with increased strength and new fire attacks. The leveling system also adds a little RNG, bringing some randomness to each character. There are currently only 3 classes, which is a tad redundant. Fortunately, each level offers 3 randomly generated skills that are class dependent. These skills range from active attacks to passive buffs that could potentially benefit more than one person in your group. This coupled with random events that permanently alter your character, and the 2 archers in your group could end up being drastically different from one another. The combat is a bit of a mixed bag. It's tactics based, so the strategy is there, but I don't know if it has enough options to really give people the freedom to play how they want. I found myself mainly worrying about positioning and using my character's basic attacks. With that being said, I haven't explored the harder difficulty levels, which might be why the strategy feels a bit lacking. For the combat itself, funneling enemies is possible, and warriors get an overwatch or counter ability that allows them to hit enemies that enter the area. All pretty basic combat features for the most part. The only unique aspect here is with the mage, who has to interfuse objects before they can cast a spell. This allows some variation to the combat based on what objects are lying around the map. Basically, it's not terrible, offers some strategy, but it could be better. The gameplay loop is fairly simple. You travel around the world map, fighting baddies, defending villages, and partaking in events. All of these seem to be randomly generated in one way or another, and the pool of available events is growing pretty rapidly. There are a few things you have to deal with along the way, but they are easily recognizable and help keep you on your toes. Essentially, the randomness of the story and events creates a very replayable loop that is entertaining well past the first playthrough. Now, Wildermyth is more than just a single campaign or story. Like I said earlier, the entire game is set up as scenarios, and with the included editor, the potential here is limitless. This gives anyone the ability to create content and upload it to the Steam Workshop. To top all of that off, there is a legacy system that is a tremendous amount of fun to explore. Basically, it lets you find and recruit some of your older heroes from a completed campaign, bringing the character, armor, weapons, and history into a new game. There's some limitations here, but it's well balanced and creates even more replayability. Wildermyth is not going to be for everyone, and I would only suggest it for those that want a tactical RPG with some decent replayability, or those that enjoy a decent story with some emergent gameplay elements. It adds the right amount of randomness to the character development, which for me is by far the best part of this game. With how Wildermyth is set up, it's hard to say just how much content there will be. For the most part, an average campaign doesn't take a ton of time, but with the workshop, content creator, other scenarios, and just the sheer amount of events already available, the game has pretty high replayability. The developers are also continuously adding events and content. Because of this, I don't really feel comfortable giving a time frame. I personally have already put in 15 hours and don't see myself stopping anytime soon. In conclusion, Wildermyth is a well-balanced tactical RPG that can garner a decent amount of playtime and has fantastic developers that are consistently releasing content. The game's art design, random events, and character development are top-notch, which makes the RNG story system a pleasure to play through. Hey everyone, thanks for watching. For an early access title, these developers are off to a great start. There have been a ton of updates, and I can't wait to see what they bring in next. I expect to be watching this game pretty closely and will have another more updated review as it gets closer to release. Anyhow, have a great day everyone, and I will see you next time.